The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is directed by Guy Ritchie and is filled with a lot of dudes who are really good at killing. And this is based off a true story in which the British military recruits a small group of highly skilled soldiers to strike against German forces behind enemy lines during World War II. While this movie is technically based off of declassified files from Winston Churchill, it really feels more akin to a movie like Sisu. A lot of Nazis die in this movie in increasingly bloody ways. These guys are played by the likes of Henry Cavill, Alan Ritchson, Henry Golding, Alex Pettyfer, amongst others, and all of them take a lot of delight in killing Nazis, and they do it extremely well. They could give the dude from Sisu a run for his money. When it comes to this movie and trying to examine its place in history, I think that would probably be a bad idea. This is a movie where characters walk very confidently and fire 1 or 2 bullets without really looking in the direction they're firing and just so happen to perfectly hit their mark and then do that about 200 more times. And most of the time they're smiling while doing it because this is obviously a story about a very dark time in history, but Guy Ritchie has done his best to infuse this movie with a surprisingly carefree sense of joy. Now, whether that works for you when it comes to a story this dark or not is up to you as a viewer. For me, I found myself endeared to these characters pretty quickly from the opening scene where they're berated by a group of Nazis that board their boat that they proceed to kill in flawless fashion. The fun of this movie really lives in watching these characters take care of business, especially Alan Ritchson. This guy finds so many ways to kill people, whether it's a bow and arrow, an axe, knives. He can figure out a way to make sure that you never see the light of day again. And he was incredibly likable in this movie. So is Henry Cavill, who's having an absolute blast in this movie. He is so good on screen that you forget just how little character is really given to any of these guys. The script doesn't really do its characters a lot of service in regards to making them feel like fleshed out people. Most of them have a wink and a smile, then they execute a few people, they go back to having a wink and a smile, and then eventually they'll probably kill some more folks. That's about it when it comes to characterization. You're not really going to learn about them in that kind of way. This movie is not interested in that, which I do think might have made it more suspenseful as certain sequences played out. I think that if we knew more about these guys, it would have been more white-knuckled, but that didn't seem to be Guy Ritchie's intent. That being said, there is one character in the film that does have a very tense mission, that of Marjorie Stewart, who is enlisted to get close to an exceedingly evil Nazi played by Till Schweiger in a far cry from his role in Inglourious Basterds. And Ritchie does something pretty amazing with this guy because he makes him fairly fear-inspiring without ever showing him commit any acts of violence. He is described as someone who is the only person worse than a Nazi, and she's got to get to know him to get information out of him. And it is heavily implied that he enjoys doing very despicable and awful things. And every time she's got to talk with him and pretend to be someone she's not, you feel the tension constantly under the surface, and I think that aspect of the movie really provided quite a bit of suspense. When it comes to the rest of it, it's mostly a lot of very skillful action scenes, and honestly for me that was enough. I didn't expect a lot going into this movie. I really found myself liking these characters, and it was kind of shocking because the script doesn't really do them that much service. Most of this is due to an incredible cast who are all really damn good in the film. And the movie also does something that I think I'm always going to enjoy. It usually works for me, and that is showcase a well thought out plan executed beautifully. And you don't exactly know what that plan is. And sometimes it has to change because of complications that arise in the middle of battle, but you enjoy watching characters somehow pull it off. Whether it's in a Mission Impossible film or a James Bond movie, I always enjoy watching that. Speaking of James Bond, this movie has Ian Fleming, the author of the James Bond novels, as a character. And you begin to understand what it's suggesting when it comes to how Ian Fleming might have envisioned his fictional character. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is not necessarily going to challenge you as a viewer. It may not be entirely historically accurate, but it is a damn good time at the movies. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Look forward to more videos very soon, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.